Well, let's move on now. We've talked a lot about universities and how they are failing Australia's young people. Well, some new data that's been analysed on attrition and dropout rates shows something surprising. Over a quarter of students at some of Australia's top unis are dropping out. But it's not because they're dissatisfied with the education. So the unis with some of the highest dropout rates, like Torrens University, Central Queensland Uni, the University of New England, they have dropout rates above 30%. But interestingly, they also have student satisfaction rates above average. Meanwhile, on the flip side, the University of Melbourne has one of the lowest dropout rates at around 6%, but also one of the lowest satisfaction rates. So it does make you wonder what is going on here. Now, I think there are a few dynamics. Some of those unis like Torrens and Central Queensland, they do have lower ATAR entry requirements. And so I think a lot of people get pushed into uni as the pathway that they're told that is how you make it in life, but they're not wired up necessarily for 4 more years of academic study. So they get there and they go, oh, this isn't very fun to continue doing high school for many more years, and then they drop out. And I think other people as well realize that you can actually make a lot of money and have a really great career without uni. And so quickly they realise maybe uni isn't for them. But what does annoy me is that the Sandstone universities once again get to have a poor quality of education experience, poor student satisfaction rates, but people stick it out because they're there for the reputation and the brand name on their resume.
That may be true to some degree. There's also probably an element of, you know, if you're going to a Melbourne uni or UCID or something like that, you know, you're pretty serious about why you're there. And even if you don't particularly like university, you're there for the payoff at the end, right? So you'll put yourself through the pain for the eventual gain. Whereas you might have people going to other universities who, as you say, probably shouldn't be in university at all. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't enjoy university. They may well enjoy the mates they make there and the social scene and whatever else. It doesn't necessarily mean they're any good at the work they're doing at university, which is why they end up dropping out. And that's always been my issue with this idea that kids get shoehorned into uni, as you say, like it's the only option, because there's almost a snobbery about it. That if you don't go to university, there's something defective about you, that you failed in your academic pursuits. And I think it might have been last week I was making the point that, you know, that the person who's going to make the most money on any given day is when you need your septic tank emptied on Christmas Day. Yep. You will pay any sum of money, your whole bank account, to have that done if it needs to be done to some bloke who's going to literally come and get in your waste. These are jobs that will needed to be done forever. Plumbers, brickies, the whole lot. You don't have to be sent off to university. And I mean, if you've got unis where they're churning through 32% of their students, I think that's pretty clear.
Yeah, absolutely. I think now's the time to be going out and getting a trade. But one thing that we haven't spoken about is the cost to go and get these university degrees, and especially in a cost of living crisis. In that article where the quote was from, one of the students actually said, gone are the days where you're a full-time student. Most kids are now having to actually work close to full-time to be able to pay for their bills. And then you have this big hex step when you go out into the workforce and you spend years and years paying it off. They've also said a few other things, like the life on campus is not what it used to be, that you're not there to have as much fun as what you might have done back in the day. Like, I know when I went to uni, it was a great time. We were there to, you know, just P's get degrees, and you just kind of cruise your way through to be able to get your degree, but because you'd be having so much fun. But it seems as though that is now gone. And also some of the subjects that are being taught within some of these university degrees, whether it's the woke ideology of things that are getting pushed into it as well. So I think it's sad that we're seeing a huge dropout because of things like cost of living. But I know that Liberal Senator Sarah Henderson was trying to address this in the last federal election by indexing HEC. She was just trying to find a solution of trying to entice students to be able to go to uni and not have this incredibly huge next step.
Yeah, and I think it's also just a lot more competitive for young people now because so many more people are going to uni. You have to have done other things. A university degree is not enough, let alone pass. You need to be getting good marks. You also need work experience. You need internships. And so I think there's a lot more pressure on young people now, which is also probably why at a lot of the more elite universities, the satisfaction rate is lower, because there is this sense that you're in a highly competitive environment and just going to a top university and getting a great degree is not enough.